Hi, everyone. I'm Monique Dana with MD Consulting. I'd like to talk to you today about informational interviews. Now, before I explain how they are used, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about what they are. Informational interviews are simply 30-minute meetings that you set up with someone that you want to gather more information about. It could be someone that you want to learn about what it's like to be in their role, what it's like to be in their industry, in their company, or even just what their team is doing. It's a way to gather information about someone or something. Now, the reason that we use informational interviews has changed over time. It used to be that informational interviews were only used for job seeking. So if you were looking for a job, either internal to your current company or externally, a person would set up an informational interview with someone that's in that company, that industry, or that role, and you would ask some questions about the position. Or maybe they know of a position that would report to them. So you might be using an informational interview for that reason also, to learn more about the position. However, now informational interviews are used for other things also. Most of the time, they are used for building relationships and networking. And I mean networking internal to your company or networking externally with someone outside of your company. So informational interviews are a great way to get to know people, build your network, develop relationships. And many of my clients are now learning how to do informational interviews. Some of them are using informational interviews the traditional way because they're looking for positions or they're wanting to eventually move into a different role in the same company that they're already in. So they're starting to explore. But other clients of mine are realizing the benefits of informational interviews as they expand their network. And here is how it's done. Typically, you make a list of people that you want to reach out to, depending on if it's job related or just building your network. So you may have a list of people, internal or external, it doesn't matter which. And then you put together 2 or 3 talking points that you want to speak about when you go into the meeting. Now, the talking points, I recommend that they are open-ended questions. That way it gets the conversation going and it gets the other person speaking and it becomes a two-way conversation. Now you need to reach out to these people first and request a meeting. And that is simply done in an email or whatever method of communication is typical in your organization. You would reach out and just say something like, I'd like to get a little more information about X, or I'd like to pick your brain for about 30 minutes about X. And I'm wondering if we can set up a meeting to do that. The meetings are about 30 minutes long. I've never heard of anyone turning down a request for that kind of a meeting. And you can even call it an informational interview when you're making the request. Most people know what that is. Once you get into the meeting, you're going to use your talking points that you developed ahead of time. And that will get the conversation started. It will break the ice a little bit. If they don't know who you are, you'll want to do a brief introduction of yourself. And at the end of the meeting, you always want to leave the door open. And you do that by, first of all, thanking them. Second of all, asking if it's okay. If you end up with more questions, can you reach back out to them? Most people say yes. I've never heard of anyone turning down that request. And finally, you want to ask if you can connect with them on LinkedIn, because again, this is a way to build your relationships and to build your network. So you want to be able to stay in touch with them. If this is job related, it is very important to be connected with them because eventually you might want to reach out to them and ask some questions about a position or about their position. So it's really important to end the meeting that way. Now, my clients are using informational interviews a lot now, and mainly just to build their network. They're realizing how important this is. And I have them do informational interviews in a way that's considered business as usual, where it's consistent and on a regular basis. It could be as minimally as once a month or more often if the person is actually seeking a job. But my point is that you want to do it on a consistent basis because you want to be consistently building your network. And the other thing to do when you are in that meeting, when you're giving a little bit of an introduction about yourself, this is where you want to bring up your accomplishment statements. Now, I have done videos for you about accomplishment statements. So if you need to know more about those, you can access those videos on my YouTube channel. But as you know, if you've seen that video before, accomplishment statements are things that you have accomplished in your career or within your company or within your role. They are tied to a metric. So as you are introducing yourself in an informational interview or at any point during that 30-minute conversation, you want to weave into the conversation some of your accomplishments. Again, that will help that person get a very good idea of who you are and what you're capable of. So it's another way to promote yourself, to toot your horn without actually bragging. And it's perfectly acceptable to do that in a conversation if you're using accomplishment statements. Finally, the other thing that happens during an informational interview is that you are truly showing your humility as a leader. Informational interviews are about you not knowing something and reaching out to someone to get more information about that. And leaders can always use more humility. Leaders do not have all the answers. They're not expected to have all the answers, yet they feel like they need to. So it's very important for you as a leader to realize that it's okay to not have all the answers. And informational interviews are a way of gathering those answers, gathering information, and really absorbing that information. And it's part of your learning process as a leader. So it shows your humility by just reaching out and admitting that there's something that you don't know about this topic and you would like some more information on it. I hope that helps you understand about informational interviews. I will be writing a blog about that for probably within the next month or so. So for those of you who can't access the video or you've seen the video, but you also want to get more information from my blog, if you are subscribed to receive those, there will be one coming shortly about informational interviews. So until next time, have a great day.